You tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the Sportscast. Tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
You, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you. I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
That's the reason you're in this business. If you have any kind of pride or any kind of dedication or any kind of backbone or spunk to you, you should try to be the best in your own profession, regardless of what it is.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan, University of North Carolina.
All right, guys, welcome in. It's episode number 40. Me and Jeff are back at it this week. We got a bunch of headlines for you. We're going to break down the movie. This is our first kind of movie review of Athlete A, the documentary on Netflix. Jeff, how's it going, buddy? How's your week been?
It's going pretty good. It's we're getting some snow tonight. I think it's 8 inches. But if anybody listening that's obviously lives here, you know that we'll get snow, and then a few days it'll be gone if it doesn't snow anymore. So, especially at the lower levels, anytime you go up to the higher elevation, they probably have had snow for months.
Yeah.
But other than that, just busy working on some of the stuff for that guy I was telling you about. And if anybody's been listening, there's like an internship I've been doing. So doing some work for him, a couple hours a day, nothing crazy. And then obviously my wife and I have been watching, getting through every season of Sopranos. So this is the second time. Actually, yeah, it's the second time I've watched the series. So it's funny because we pick up on things and things we didn't pay attention to before. So
Right. Yeah,
so it's really
I've
cool.
never seen it, man. Never seen Sopranos.
It's so good. It's if anybody's ever watched Breaking Bad, and loved Breaking Bad,
Love it.
It's that story of like he's bad guy, but he's a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
that's like it's one of those kind of things where it's like he's a bad guy, but he's a good guy. You shouldn't root for him, but you do. Because you see the good elements of him, and so it's really good. It's a really good story. Old back in the I think late 90s, early 2000s is when it ended, like in 2004. So but they're supposed to be doing a movie, a prequel to it, I think coming out on HBO Max this year. So
Nice. We've had HBO Max and we love it. No complaints, definitely not. We're getting the free movies in that they're throwing out there. So it's been fantastic for us. My week has been hectic. We got shut down last week in Texas. I haven't worked for a week. I went back and I pick up trash for businesses. So I work for Waste Connections, and when apartment complexes don't stop building up trash, I've been working 12 to 14 hours a day. Yesterday I worked 14 hours on the dot. Monday was 12 hours. Today I got a break. I was able to get off kind of early for a busy day, but we're just playing catch up, and it's a pain in the butt, but got to be a good paycheck coming up. So,
Yeah.
You talk about 8 inches in Colorado. Well, 8 inches in Texas shuts us down. So, but you guys are used to it up there, and it's been nice here, man. We've been in the 70s. It hit 80 degrees today. So fantastic weather, but it's supposed to start raining tomorrow night, and it's supposed to rain for like 6 days straight. I hate it. I hate the rain. I hate the cold. Give me that sunshine and give me that hot Texas summer. I'll take that any day of the week.
I don't know. You'll be complaining come July. You'll be like, oh man.
I don't know if any Texan will be complaining this year with what we saw temperature wise. It was insane, man.
Give it a couple years. Get a couple of years. Everybody will forget about it.
Yeah, hopefully. We don't have those rolling blackouts going into this summer. I think that would be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's an issue. Speaking of that, the ERCOT, it's ERCOT of Texas. Mm-hmm. It's our electrical and our grid. Is being sued by a bunch of people because this lady got a $9,000 electric bill, Jeff.
Oh my God.
I mean, and she's suing them, and the board that runs the board, Jeff, that runs the ERCOT is what we call the ERCOT here, all resigned. And what's funny is, well, it's not really funny. It's kind of ridiculous. None of the people that were on the board live in Texas, Jeff. How are you going to be on a board of the power grid of Texas and not even live in the state? So all this stuff's happening, and it's not even affecting you. Like, I don't get it, man. It's just a big blunder, big mess, and hopefully they figure that out. But
yeah, it's a huge problem. And that's going to be litigation for a very long time. Not only from the state, but you're also going to have to be worrying about people wanting to sue them. And yeah, that's going to be a problem.
I'll tell you what, if I get a $9,000 electric bill, Jeff, I'm going to tell them to shove it. All right. And that's just straight up how it is. But let's go ahead and jump into the headlines. Breaking news all over the news yesterday. Tiger Woods gets in a car crash. He was, we've learned more about the story through today as well. So it was reported that he had to be removed from his car with the jaws of life, and he went immediately into surgery. So you thought the worst. His injuries are not life-threatening. It turns out they didn't have to use the jaws of life. They say there was no alcohol or drug use in this situation. It was just going too fast around a curve that he shouldn't have been driving that fast around, and lost control of the car, and he ended up about 100 feet off of the roadway. Luckily, he's lucky to be alive. He's lucky he didn't hit nobody else. He crossed 2 lanes of traffic. So a lot of luck went into this. And now that we know that Tiger Woods isn't going to pass away or anything like that, he broke his legs, cracked his ankles really bad. I'm just wondering, is that the end of his golf career? Will he ever play golf again? It's the question I guess we're all kind of asking ourselves. He's had 5 back surgeries, Jeff. He just came off a 5th back surgery not like 4 or 5 months ago. They were worried maybe he was on pain meds while driving because, it takes a while to get over a back injury. None of that's the case. But that's just the question mark right now is first, I guess, will he ever walk again? What's his condition going to be like? And if he's able to walk, is he going to want to play golf?
Oh, man. It was kind of nerve-wracking hearing that earlier yesterday. I think it was like around lunchtime is whenever I found out about it. And I'm glad he's safe. And the first thing that came to mind was, man, like this time around last year, it was Kobe. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is really weird. And so, but he's actually, it's not life threatening, which is excellent. You don't want anything to happen to anybody, period. But he's a legend, and he's like the Michael Jordan of golf, period. So whatever happened in his past, personally wise, whatever, besides that, putting that to the side. But whatever he put out on an actual like golf course and the stuff he was able to accomplish is undeniable. But yeah, I don't know what this means for him. I know he's a competitor. Golf's a little different. I'm not quite sure like what an injury does to somebody when you're on the golf course like that. I know I know golf's real tricky. A lot of things can affect everything of it, but physically wise, I don't know. Like football, it's a little different. Like for football, it's like it's a little bit more physical. I'm not saying that golf is any easier, but I think it's possible for him to come back from it, but it just depends on the injuries. It depends on how well he heals. Depends on what the doctors say. We still don't really know any information about that. I think right now, first things first, he just needs to rest and heal up. And once that happens, then they'll be able to really see how fast he could bounce back from this. If this comes out that this is it for him, I mean, you can't. The guy's had an amazing career. I don't even think he would be upset about that. I think he may have looked at that and go, well, I probably would have played till I was no longer breathing. But now this may force me to just chill out, and mentor people and, put on charity golf events and, do some golf analysis and stuff like that. So again, trying to give a different perspective on the game from his eyes, which we don't really ever get to see very much. He's very closed off, so, but,
he keeps people at arm distance and, I'm not a golf fan. I don't really like golf. But Tiger Woods, he's on the Mount Rushmore of athletes of my life. I mean, he's one of the best golfers to ever golf. He's near the end of his career as far as his ability to go out there and win Masters and play at a high level like he used to. There's actually a documentary out that they were talking about on Tiger Woods, and it's throughout his whole life and stuff. And we should definitely. Yeah. One that we've got to break down on the show and review on this show. And so that's definitely one we got to look, but it talks about how competitive he is and how just the drive he had to keep going. And he's had 5 back surgeries. After the 4th one, I think it was a documentary. He said he don't know if he can play golf anymore. That's how bad his back was. And he thought he was done, and he actually came back and won him. He did win. I'm not sure if it was a Masters. Like I don't know a whole lot about golf. I think he did. I know he
won
did recently.
Yeah, he did win a few. Yeah, for sure.
And it was quite recent. And then so with this, we'll see. But first and foremost, hopefully he's able to walk again, and we just send our thoughts and prayers to him and his family.
Oh yeah.
All right, Jeff. Interesting rumor broke that the Dallas Mavericks are quietly shopping Kristaps Porzingis. Now, I live in the Dallas area, right? So I hear and I listen to the sports radio all day when I'm working because I drive a truck and I just turn it on. And I mean, a lot of this they were saying it's a non-story. It's not like they're out there just saying, hey, what's your best offer for Kristaps? We've got to get him off our team. But I think as a franchise, if you're not having those hypothetical questions and you're not, I wonder what his trade value is. And if we got the right deal, would we trade him? I think this says more to me that Kristaps Porzingis is no longer untouchable, that if the deal was right, maybe they do trade him away. And he's been injury prone. He's got to sit out a lot, Jeff. The Mavs missed 5 games due to COVID and due to the ice conditions here shut down. Then for 5 games, and Kristaps didn't play after that. He missed 5 games the Dallas Mavericks were off. Okay, he wasn't out there playing basketball, and he can't even suit up to go. He's not playing tonight. They played last night. Luka hit an amazing 3-point shot at the buzzer to beat the Celtics, and Kristaps wasn't out there again. So I don't know. This is a move that they had to make. The Dallas Mavericks getting Kristaps Porzingis, and they gave basically nothing for him. But if they're already shopping Kristaps Porzingis, that's a little bit worrisome for the Dallas Mavericks and getting Luka some help, because I'm telling you, Jeff, and if it's all on Luka's back for his whole time in Dallas, he's not going to stay. In my opinion, if it's all on Luka or nothing, they've got to get him somebody.
I don't think it's going to be all on his back. I think they're just looking and trying to do longevity. Kristaps Porzingis gets hurt a lot. I think that's a problem. You want to find somebody that has some form of guarantee, like I'm going to be around and I'm going to be healthy for a while. Because ultimately, if Porzingis gets hurt 3 times, 4 times a year, whatever, Luka's doing it all by himself anyway. You know what I mean? So,
well, you can't have your number 2 player not be relied on. Period. Right.
I don't think that he needs to sit there. They need to go out and get like a superstar stud, whatever. I think that they need to like multiple. I'm not saying that they don't need to go get 3, 4, free agent max contract, whatever to get something done. If they could replace Porzingis with somebody that's equivalent, and if they're shopping him around with the Warriors, they could find somebody.
I heard that deal, and
I wonder who it would be. Would it be not obviously not Curry, but who's the other guy that's really good?
It wouldn't be Klay Thompson. The deal that was brought up was the rookie they just drafted, their first round pick, and it was one more player. I can't remember his name. And
they picked High, didn't they? They didn't have a good year, so they picked.
Yeah, they picked High.
They picked High. Okay.
I forget. I can't think of the guy's name, but it wasn't Draymond Green, and it wasn't any of the big 3 they have.
Right.
But here, they were saying if that was the real deal, the Mavs would pull the trigger. I mean, if they were the Mavs, they'd pull the trigger in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Kristaps, to me, needs to go to a team where he can be a 3rd or 4th guy. How much he gets injured. To me, I don't think you can rely on him to be number 2, and I think that's what the Dallas Mavericks are doing. Right. I don't think he can be that guy. If he was healthy and there was an issue, I think so.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that would be not a question.
And they talk about it a lot on 105.3 The Fan and about how when Kristaps Porzingis has a 25-point game, it's like, oh my gosh, it's super great. And they're like, we're paying him. The amount of money we're paying him, that should be his normal, around 21 to 25 points a game. It shouldn't be a once every 5 games and missing a lot of games. And the injury prone, he was injury prone in New York, and so they knew what they were getting into.
Yeah,
but it's just interesting. It's Mark Cuban obviously came out and said that it was just some BS reporting, and of course he's going to say that because I think Kristaps Porzingis, might get his feelings hurt if he heard all that, and But that was a pretty interesting story at the NBA, and another interesting story, Jeff, about the NBA is the All-Star Game is happening, even though it's controversial. A lot of the NBA players said if we really cared about safety, why aren't we having an All-Star Game? But they said there will be an All-Star Game. And during the halftime show, Jeff, they're having the dunk contest. Before the game is the skills competition. During the halftime show is the dunk competition. Why they're all jamming it in one day, okay? How long is this halftime going to be? Because dunk competitions,
they can go for a while.
They can go for
and they're doing crazy dunks too. You run the risk of somebody,
and they try. they try the dunk like 3 or 4 times, right? I mean, it's not just a one. I don't know. I think it's a little weird. I think it's the skills competition. Okay, it's no problem. It's dribbling and shooting. You're not out there, 3-point contest, whatever. But the dunk competition is super weird to throw it in at halftime. I don't know if any of the all-star players are going to be in the dunk competition. I don't know. But I just thought that was interesting. And a lot of the players don't think they should have an all-star game, but they're throwing it out there anyways. And now they're cramming it all in one day. So I don't know. I usually don't watch the all-star game, Jeff, but do you watch them? I don't.
I mean, if it's somebody I want to watch, like I know when Dirk was in the 3-point, I was like, yeah, I'll watch. If Luka was in it or something, probably I would watch, just to kind of watch him.
He's in the all-star game. He's the starter.
Yeah, but I mean, in the contest, but in the all-star game, it's so weird. I've been to an all-star game. I've watched them on TV a few times, and they're just a show. I mean, it's a big show.
No defense. It's like 150 something.
No it's something crazy like that. And whenever they had it at the American Airlines or the Cowboy Stadium. They haven't. Yeah, they had the American Airlines. So when they had it at the American Airlines, we, I went with my father-in-law and my wife and her family and stuff. So, and we got to watch it, which was cool because, I mean, when do you ever get to go to one of those, So, so that was really cool. And, but it was a show. I mean, it was pretty obvious from the score. So I don't know. I don't think anybody really is watching it. And if the players don't want to do it, who cares?
Right. All right. The other news that happened this week was the Timberwolves fired head coach Ryan Saunders. I
know nothing about this.
Nothing?
No.
Well, it's the Timberwolves, Jeff. So
but
Ryan Saunders got fired. The Timberwolves started off 7-14. They have some talent. They got D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, who hasn't lived up to be what they thought he's going to be. And then they got the rookie Anthony Edwards. They're always on the losing end. It's just a bad organization. They're the Lions of the NBA, Jeff, and just a bad run organization who always end up falling short, and they don't win a lot of games. And I don't know what it's going to take to turn them around. Maybe new ownership, but maybe this change in head coach will give them a little boost this season. But I just don't. I mean, they're not. I don't think they're going to do anything.
I mean, the only thing that ever comes to mind with me is, oh man, I'm trying to think of his name.
Kevin Garnett.
Most famous Kevin Garnett.
That's about it.
And that's it, man.
That's it.
That's crazy. He has not been.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been out of the league for a while at this point. He hasn't been significant in the NBA for a very long time since he was with the Boston Celtics. Prior to that, the only people who would really know him being a part of the Timberwolves would be, and I think he was in it towards the end of his career, but still would be 90s kids. Nobody's going to know.
He was a good player on a bad team. And then he goes to Boston and wins a couple of championships, 1 or 2. It's just, that's it. I mean, that's really all I got to say about the Timberwolves, man.
That's all. I mean, so this organization, that kind of gives you an idea of where this organization's been since then. Nowhere. Yep. And irrelevant. Maybe they stuck in the playoffs here and there, did nothing. So I don't know. Give it to Kevin Garnett. See what he does. Give the management to him and see if he can build a team.
Something. I mean, something's got to change because it hasn't changed and been successful in decades. So,
yeah.
Albert Pujols, Jeff, the machine, announces his retirement after the season. Actually, it was his wife. My bad. It was his wife announced his retirement. He'll go down as one of the best players to play the game, one of the best hitters to play the game. Period. Seattle, his career was amazing. He goes over to the Angels, and the contract was terrible. He didn't do anything, Jeff, for the Angels, and they probably can't wait till he leaves because they're paying him a lot of money to do nothing. So I'll always remember him as a St. Louis Cardinal, and just he was the machine because he was automatic every year. I mean, and just a great swing, great player.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't know
remember
what else you could say when you have a nickname as the machine, to where you're automatic. That just kind of tells you everything you need to know. He's a great defender, great teammate as far as I've heard. I mean, I've never been teammates with him, but won championships.
You're about to be.
He's a Hall of Fame player, and I mean, it's definitely time for him to go. But it's a great player, man.
Yeah, coming from just a person who enjoys baseball in general, I remember him being afraid of him anytime I ever saw him come up to bat against my team or whatever. And the other one for a long time was like David Ortiz and Miguel Cabrera was another one. So it was just it's. He's always been a Cardinal. I don't think he did much, if anything, with the Angels. But I think he's been a mentor for a while. I've been hearing that for a while. He's been more of like a leader in the clubhouse than actually being like a top producer in baseball. So, I mean, if it helps the team, if he's able to help and mentor young talent, hey man, it's, if the team's willing to pay you and you can help younger talent succeed. I don't have any issues with that, but yeah, he was an awesome player. I know there was some hoopla in the past about him. I think he also has, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but I think he has a, mentally challenged daughter.
I believe so.
So that he takes care of, and he's very, very, hands-on with her and make sure she has everything she needs. But yeah, overall, he's a great person. So I think that there's very few players where I can be like, I don't have any problems with him. He was a great player, and it was worrisome to go against him for your team. But I don't have ill will towards the guy. So I think, hey man, storied career. He won a championship. You know what I mean? Like, it took a while, but he finally won one. And, I mean, once you reach that, even if it's one time, that's it, man. I mean, you've reached the top. So, glad for him to finally kind of close this chapter and open another chapter. I could definitely see this guy managing at some point. I do think so. It just seems like he knows the game, and I think he's a smart guy in the industry and in the game, and probably sees talent a lot. So you see it with players all the time. Joe Girardi was a catcher for the Yankees, managed the Yankees, won a championship, now manages the Mets. I think it was the guy for the Marlins who used to be the manager for the Dodgers, Don Mattingly. He played for the Yankees, managed. I mean, so I could see. I think Albert Pujols is a favorite player. He's a player's favorite kind of guy. I don't think any player is like, I don't like him. So he just seems like, I think he could fit as a manager somewhere, whether it be in the minors for a little while or whether it be in the majors for the first time. But I could definitely, don't write that off, but he will probably be an analyst for a while and then switch to that. I could see that.
All right. The Seattle Mariners CEO Kevin Mather resigned after he found himself in hot water after some statements that he had made. He was doing some interviews, some kind of interview, and he said that he admitted to manipulating service time for players so they could stay in the minor leagues longer, which all teams do that. But it's something that they don't talk about because it's frowned upon, and it's kind of a bad thing for players. He also talked about being frustrated about paying interpreters for his Asian players who can't speak good English. So people called him, then he's a racist, and yeah. Just dumb comments. Comments. And
How
especially,
how do you act that way when the majority of some of your revenue comes from a company based in Japan? Look at the advertisements that they have at their stadium. There's constantly Japanese advertisements everywhere. And Nintendo, I remember for years, Nintendo, because they signed a contract with Ichiro to do, to sell, like GameCubes and sell like Wii's and stuff. And they'd have like ads, Nintendo ads in the back, in the outfield. Like, how do you do that?
Everyone knows Ichiro over there in Seattle. They're kind of like the Houston Rockets of the NBA. A lot of their fan base is over in China because of Yao Ming played there, and so they played their games and they're really big, popular. And that's Seattle gets a lot of Japanese players, and they advertise and everything else. So it's kind of it's just an ignorant comment in general, but it's double as ignorant when a lot of your players come from there.
And money, advertisements. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't, unless he was just looking for the way out and just wanted to tell you how he really felt. He wasn't let go by the team. He ended up resigning by himself. So I don't know. I think
even their games are televised there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's just a dumb comment. It's dumb. It's an ignorant statement in general, but then it's a double whammy. And and I think they were talking on the radio that the bigger topic is not about speaking English. It's the manipulating the players' time and keeping them in the minors. And but every team does that, and but they were like, publicly it's going to be the insensitive comments on the language barrier,
right?
But so just dumb. So he's gone. Seattle's got to find a new CEO, and
good. I mean, that team hasn't been jack for so long now. Ever since Ichiro left, ever since
Ken Griffey.
Well, I would say Ichiro would be the earliest.
I mean,
recent, most
really
recent.
Good, though. I mean.
Well, but they were pretty good when King Felix. They were good, dude. That guy, he's good.
Those two players are good,
right. But I think like they haven't really done anything for a while, and I think it's about time something changed. Fine, no big deal. I think that if he was messing with people's minor league time, I find that completely messed up. A lot of those players. They're struggling. They don't make that much. And, so they're on the road constantly away from their family, playing minor league ball, hoping they get that opportunity. And when you're dancing around that and you're purposely pulling the rug from under them and then dangling a carrot and then pulling it away, it's wrong. So if that was actually purposely going on, that's messed up. And it's rightfully so that he's out.
Agreed. And I think baseball has the worst minors of any sport. These guys, AAA, single A, double A, the stuff they got to deal with, and the amount of money they don't make, and it's bad. And then you talk about this going on, which I do believe every team does it. So. But they just don't talk about it because it's not a very. They probably know the minors are not you're not a great spot to be in if you're in the minors.
Yeah, there's a story that Jeter almost was like, "I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to do this at all," and he was struggling. And I think it was one of the minor league coaches was just like, "You gotta just kind of get through it," and he called. I think he called his parents or something and told me he's not going to do it anymore. And I want to say a few weeks later, maybe a month or so, and it all started clicking in and he was just playing better. And then he got an opportunity because of an injury, or whatever. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's different because your career can last longer in baseball than in normally in another sports, depending on what you're doing. If you're, like an outfielder, I think your career can last longer. If you're a pitcher, it's a little different. I think could be shorter depending on what kind of pitcher you are. You're a hard nosed fastball, velocity only pitcher. Well, your career is going to be short. But if you're a finesse pitcher, like a Verlander, right, you can do it for a while. So I think they look at it and they're starting to get people real young. And so I think that you're going to start seeing that a little bit more, but they're going to come in at like 23, 24 and start, and I think that's fine. I get why they do that. I think that it's such a long season and you have to, and I think in the minor leagues, it's not as long. And I think it's shorter. And so you're having to like train your body to be just beaten down for 160 something games, not including playoffs. It's a process. That's a lot. And it's like, you're also having to travel constantly. Then you're having to train. Then you're having to
bus travel.
Right.
That's not an airport.
Yeah.
Not a plane. They're traveling buses. It's
and then if you have flights, let's say you play in the East Coast, there's times where they'll have a series or two in the East Coast, and then they'll go all the way to the West Coast and have a series in like about 4 days. So
I think single A players make like $10,000 a year. Yeah. I mean,
and I don't know if this is an organizational thing. I don't know if the organization is the one who sets the pricing on some of this stuff. So I don't know if the organizations that have the most means pay them the most, depending on production value, ranking value, that kind of thing. Even I don't know if they even have like I know when it comes to like players, there's always like signing bonuses and things like that. So it's like if you get a batting average of over 200 or whatever in a season, you get a bonus of whatever X money or whatever. And I don't know if they do that with minor leagues or not, but I wonder if it's different per team basis kind of thing. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know that though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's an interesting question. Our next one here is Carson Wentz gets straight to the Colts for second and third round pick. The second round pick will turn into a first round if Carson plays 75% of the snaps for the Colts, which, barring injury, he should. My question, Jeff, is to you: who won this trade? My opinion, Jeff, on that is the Colts. The Colts definitely won this trade. If Carson Wentz turns into be a franchise quarterback, it was a low risk and high reward trade. If he's healthy, if he can play multiple games, if he can be a top 10 quarterback and be their franchise quarterback, then they definitely won this trade. The Eagles lost this trade. They even came out and said they weren't happy about the return. They knew that they were trading Carson Wentz at his lowest point. They wanted a first round pick and they wanted some salary relief, which they got neither one of those for Carson Wentz. Now the first round pick will probably happen if Carson Wentz plays, but if he comes out and gets hurt and doesn't play 75%, it's a second round pick and not a first. And so that's a big issue, in my opinion. They didn't get anything to help them. Trading Carson Wentz, Jeff, activates a $33 million cap hit to the Eagles this season, and it's the largest cap hit in NFL history. So they got that going against them. They're cutting wide receivers left and right. Alshon Jeffries is gone. Deshaun Jackson is gone. So I'm just not the Eagles are going to be in shambles. The Eagles are going to be, I don't know. They're giving Jalen Hurts not a lot of talent to work with.
Well, I don't think they care.
Interested to see where they go in the draft, and maybe they draft a quarterback. I'm not sure, but the Colts definitely won this trade if Carson Wentz is their guy. If not, then they wasted some draft picks and wasted some time with their good team that they've got right now. But we'll see if they can turn it around.
I don't think they care.
You don't think the Eagles care?
No. I don't think the Eagles care. I think the Eagles could care less. I think they're blowing it all up. I think they're just destroying everything. They got rid of the coach. They got rid of the quarterback that they've been handcuffed because of the contract. Who cares? They're going to take a cap hit. They don't care. They don't care. If they'll take a cap hit, they'll take a cap hit. They're getting rid of players left and right. What is Jalen Hurts going to do? They don't care what Jalen Hurts is going to do. Matter of fact, they probably wish Jalen Hurts just completely bombs this next season.
He probably will.
And he probably will. But they're not going to care.
No.
They're going to look at it and go, we're going to just completely suck for X number of years and build this team back up. Why not?
What's interesting?
I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
They won their championship a few years ago. It's over.
What's interesting to me is that you have a coach that Doug Peterson came in and he won a championship, Jeff. I mean, and he's out within 5 years. If you didn't like the quarterback and the quarterback didn't get along with the coach, there was reports that Wentz gave him the silent treatment for weeks. So there was something going on there. But you trade the quarterback and you get rid of the coach. The coach did take you to the Super Bowl. It's just kind of a funny situation to me that they would get rid of both. Usually you'd kind of like, okay, we'll pick one or the other. They just get rid of both and say, well, they are washing their hands with it all. And they did get that Super Bowl victory, but very interesting there in Philly. And we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see where they draft and who they draft in the first round.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be like, what are they going to do in the next 4-5 years in the draft, and how are they going to build the team back up? I do think that, as weird as it sounds, Washington was a better team this year than everyone thought initially. Everyone was joking around and making fun of the name and kind of, because the division wasn't very good. Let's just say that, but obviously. But at least the Washington Redskins were a little more exciting to watch.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
defensively,
that's
they were exciting to watch.
That's a change in getting a coach that has some leadership and some
Right.
direction.
Right.
This trade also hurts. Sam Darnold lost, Jeff. Sam Darnold lost his trade value because Wentz had more success than Sam Darnold's ever had in the NFL. So Darnold cannot be traded and get more than what Wentz brought back, which everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people thought a second and third was a steal for the Colts. So I think the Jets hold on to Sam Darnold. I don't know if they're ready to move off him just yet, and they really haven't put a talent around him to see really what kind of quarterback Sam Darnold is going to be. But his trade value gets hurt too. And the Jets came out and I don't know, they made an interesting statement the other day saying that when it comes to Sam Darnold, they're trying to wait to see what happens in the draft. To figure out if they're keeping Sam Darnold or not. But I thought that was kind of backwards. I figured you need to figure out if Sam Darnold is your guy so you can draft players to put around him. Or if Sam Darnold isn't your guy, you can draft a quarterback that's going to maybe change your franchise. So to me, that's just kind of doing it backwards there in New York. But that's kind of what they've done for a long time. So,
Yeah. I mean, the Jets, who's the number one pick? Who is the number one pick?
The Jags. They're going to get
the
Trevor
Jags.
Lawrence.
Okay. So
the Jets are
where are
two.
the Jets, though?
They're number 2.
Okay. Well, then who would be the number 2 pick? You think?
Who that I think? Oh, Ohio State's quarterback. I'm trying to think his name now that you asked me. I think his stock has actually kind of gone down a little bit. I'm not sure. Zach Wilson from BYU's played really well this year. There's a lot of people out there that like him a lot more. I'd probably go with him as this number 2 pick. It's either him or the quarterback at Ohio State, which I cannot remember his name, Jeff. It's killing me.
Do you think that they would you think that they would get a quarterback? Is the question.
That's toughy because first of all, it's the Jets, and you really don't know.
Quarterbacks are hard to find.
Quarterbacks are hard to find. Do they
And
believe
if you
in
could
Sam
get one,
Darnold?
and if you get one first, just to build the team, to start the process, that's the hardest thing to get initially. So it's harder to work backwards from that.
Oh no, yeah, you
Right.
have to find your quarterback, and
Yeah.
that's what every team. If you don't have a elite quarterback, you're looking for one, right? Until you find that one, you're not going to win. That's what history and the odds tell you in football. I think they draft a quarterback. I don't think they're all in on Sam Darnold, and that's why I kind of think it's weird if they wouldn't try and trade him. Justin Simmons is the Ohio State quarterback.
Okay.
His trade value was going down, and then it kind of went up because they did beat Clemson, but then they lost to Alabama pretty bad in the championship game. And there's talk about how his throwing motion, his arm isn't as strong. So I'm going to go with Zach Wilson at BYU. I think they'll take him over him. But I do think the Jets do draft a quarterback, and I do think they. The interesting thing with Sam Darnold is they could keep him around for one more year to kind of give their rookie quarterback, that kind of learning experience. But like you said, if you don't have a quarterback you believe in, now the Jets probably do get a top 5 pick a lot, but a lot of times you're not guaranteed a top 5 pick. And the Jets actually couldn't even lose right. They won 2 games and they bumped themselves out of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. So if I'm a Jets fan, I would have been extremely mad this year because I wanted to go. You would want to go 0-16 to get that quarterback that's supposed to be his comp is Peyton Manning coming out of college. So
Right.
I mean that's a high standard. So, but he'll go to the Jacksonville, and I think the Jets either take Justin Simmons or Zach Wilson out of BYU, and I think it's going to be Zach Wilson out of BYU. If I had to put money on it, which I'm not going to, but if I had to take a pick.
I think that they'll keep Darnold, just to kind of have some kind of buffer for the next guy coming in. How long is he under contract for? Is he still on rookie contract, or is
He is. I think he's got one more. I think his rookie contract ends next season, if I'm not believe.
Then I think they'll keep him around, and if that's the case, then they're either going to trade him before the trade deadline, which is possible, or they're just going to keep him around and let the contract go.
Yeah,
like expire.
Yeah, I just don't know what his trade value is, and that's the problem when you draft a quarterback and you don't put a team around him, and he's not, and you just don't know who he is, and his trade value is not going to be good. So
I think it'll be better for they're not going to get anything for him. I don't think that they think they deserve. So I think what will end up happening is they'll keep him around for the year, and if he gets hurt, then whatever. They don't. Then it doesn't matter. They'll just put the guy that they drafted in. But if that's the case, they'll let the contract expire, and he'll hit the free market. They're not going to get anything for him. So not anything significant.
Yeah.
So if he goes that route, then it's better for the player. In the end, I mean, someone's going to pay him. Somebody will pay him.
I want to apologize. I do hear the girls making a lot of noise behind me, so you're probably going to pick that up.
Come on. What is it, daycare?
Right?
I'm kidding.
Those dang kids. Interesting, crazy story out of Jackson State College football. Deion Sanders got his first, I believe his first one as a college coach.
Prime time.
And he coached of Jackson State. And after the game, he said he had some mixed emotions, Jeff. And you're like, what? You just beat the team 53-0. What are you mixed emotions about? He says they won, but everything from his locker was stolen. His wallet, his money, all his watches, his phone. And this is at their home stadium. So it's not like he was in a visitor locker room. You know what I'm saying? So The school later tweeted that it was a misunderstanding and the items were all found. They were just misplaced. Dion then refutes that statement and says that they were actually being stolen and someone got caught in the act of stealing them. And it's just a weird situation, Jeff. And that's what happens when you hire Prime Time as your head coach. He takes all the attention away from the kids getting the first win for the head coach. I don't know. That's just kind of what you expect when Prime Time's running the show there. But it was crazy. I just don't. What's weird is he rebutted back on Twitter against the report from his own school. Like he couldn't just sit down and to the school and be like, fix it man to man. I don't know. It was weird. It was just funny, and it's prime time, baby. It's prime time. So
how ridiculous. How ridiculous. Okay, so I don't know what Deion Sanders has been doing. I don't know if he's been doing, the Michael Irvin nose candy. Okay. But going back to the good old 90s there, the 90s glory days. But because, how do you misplace everything? Literally everything. How do you misplace that? I don't know where I put it. What? You didn't put it by your shoes and your clothes, and when you dress back out to your regular clothes to go home, you didn't put all of it by there. Like that doesn't make any sense. How do you misplace all of your stuff?
Well, that's what he's saying. He's saying that it was being stolen. The school's like, no, it was just misplaced.
Come on.
I don't know.
Somebody's either had a little too much drinky or something. I don't know what's going on, but something's wrong.
I just think that's what you get when you hire Prime Time.
Well,
period. It's a situation that could have been handled in-house that no one else needed to know about.
He's not worried about that kind of thing in life because he is Prime Time, Brian. He hires people to handle that. Okay? He doesn't have time to put his stuff somewhere where he can find it. He paid, just go put it over there, little Timmy. You go put it over there, and then go give it to me. Like he doesn't. He's got too much prime time to deal with. Okay, all right.
It's just stupid. And another stupid story, Jeff.
Of course, it happens to an ex-cowboy. Of course.
Another stupid story, Jeff. Cam Newton gets heckled at his own camp. Cam Newton's out here putting on a camp to help these kids get better. And some kid starts calling Cam Newton broke, that he's ass. He literally just calls him the ass. And he's a free agent. That's all he's yelling at. Cam goes back and forth with this player, which you're like, why is Cam even giving this guy any time? The kid later apologizes. But, man, how disrespectful can you be? All right, this guy's throwing it on a camp for you to better yourself at your skills in football. So maybe the small percentage you have to actually ever be an NFL player will come true one day. Man, and he's like, where's your dad at? He's like, Cam Newton in the video, where's your dad? Where's your pops? Let me talk to him. If that was my kid, I'm whooping his butt. How disrespectful are you? Now, Cam Newton's not a good football player anymore. I think we can all agree on that, but he was the MVP. He was a physical specimen in college, coming out of college. He's had a good NFL career. He's not very good anymore. I will agree with that, but that's just disrespect, man. That is straight up disrespect. Man, and everyone's getting on Cam for going back and forth, and Cam did apologize, but man, it would take me. I don't know, Jeff. If I was Cam Newton, I might have said a few choice words too. But it's disrespectful, man.
That kid's father was The Rock. I'm kidding.
You don't want to mess with that guy.
He's like, who's your dad? It's like,
yeah.
But no, maybe this is the reincarnation of the heckler from Happy Gilmore. I don't know.
Which, hey, that movie hit its 25th anniversary the other day.
I know. I heard about that. It's a kid. Like, whatever. I mean, if Cam Newton's going to get bothered by a little kid, then why are you even in the NFL? I know there's trash talk on the field constantly.
Well, he's soft, but
it's a camp, but it's a kid. Just ignore it.
Yeah, he's like 15 or 16, and he'll probably never ever see the NFL. It's one of those things you just got to keep walking.
Yeah, just ignore it. Like, who cares?
He did. He did. There was another video where he did actually talk to the kid later on, and he's like, "Hey, you want some attention? I'll give it to you." But so it's just interesting.
You don't hurt Cam Newton's feelings, okay, people? Just don't do it.
He's soft. Anyways, I'm not a big Cam Newton fan in general.
I'm not either. It's just you're an adult. Just ignore it. Yeah. Come on now.
So, Jeff, it is time for the Side Notes edition here on Watson's Playbook. And Side Notes edition is just whatever we feel like talking about. Doesn't have to be sports. Could be anything. So over the weekend, Jeff, I took first of all, I took my lovely wife out on a spectacular date. We went to the Water Gardens. So in February, our anniversary is the 11th. My birthday's the 12th, and you got Valentine's on the 14th. So it all falls literally in a week. And it was our 10-year anniversary. So it's special, decade together. And so I took her out on a date. We went to the Water Gardens in Fort Worth. If you've never been there, it's a pretty cool spot. And we used to go there a lot. That was our spot. And it's actually where I asked her to marry me. And we went there again and just able to kind of chill. And then we walked around downtown and we went to, what is that? Simply Fondue.
Excellent place.
Great place. Wonderful place to go to. Just cooking your own food. You're sitting back and relaxing with the wife. It was just a good date all around. And then on Sunday, I went out and had what we call a mommy or daddy day. And its quick explanation is if I feel like my wife's getting stressed because the kids are driving her crazy, I'll give her a day where I'll watch the kids. She can go do whatever she wants. And it's usually I'll go to a movie, I'll go eat somewhere or whatever. So I went out and watched a movie called The Marksman with Liam Neeson in it. It's a really good movie. It's not his typical. It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. It's not his typical, like, just I'm going to beat everyone up movie. But it is. He does shooting some people, and it's just about him protecting a boy that came over from across the border, and the cartel wants to kill him, and it's a good story. So go check that out. In theaters right now. So I just had a pretty good weekend, but this week at work's been crazy. But what do you got? What do you got for Side Note edition here?
Side notes. We have a few things that's recently come up. I know that there is talks of some, so at least on the gaming front, there's been some talks about new PlayStation VR, at least being acknowledged by Sony. So if anybody is interested in any of that, that news and information is out. I think Jim Ryan's the one who talked about that in an interview with, I think it was GQ, which is kind of an odd place to be interviewed by. But needless to say, he was interviewed by them and just actually mentioned that, yes, there is going to be a second iteration of PlayStation VR. And then they're releasing dev kits this next month, I think, is what he said. So it's a ways, we're not going to see anything yet, but the fact that dev kits are out means good things. It means that they're already starting to work on the tools and the games and what they want to do with it, and the hardware will then follow suit. So I would say in the next year and a half, we'll see what it looks like. Probably.
That's going to be awesome. I haven't played and messed around with the virtual reality with the first one, but you have to think, though, with this new one, they're going to be adding that DualSense controller in with the VR to make you feel more like you're in the game than you were previous with the first edition of it. So yeah,
it's real interesting because they have they have like they said it's a single wire solution, which if anybody's played VR or had VR recent, this iteration, the first iteration of it, knows that there's setting it up's a pain. Honestly, it's multi-wire stuff. You have this box and you have an HDMI in, HDMI out, then that connects to something else. And it's just anytime it's like, I don't even want to set it up. Like, then you think about it and you're like, I got to set all of it up. And it's this time though, they're saying it's a one plug solution, which is really cool. I know a lot of people want wireless, but there's latency issues with that. The fact that they're having a one plug solution is good. That means that it's at least going to be a very like solid experience. And then I think they're also going to be working on some kind of like inside out tracking. So tracking is going to be a lot better. And obviously it's going to get rid of any of the sickness that people get when they try VR for the first time or any of the latency. Because with latency, that's what causes motion sickness. So if this has a lot less latency and maybe a 4K AMOLED or OLED screen in it, you're not going to get motion sickness. Yeah. So this one's going to be good. This one's going to be really good. This version is going to be awesome. Yeah. Nice. Other than that, there's a state of play tomorrow. I think that's going to be tomorrow, 4:00 Central. And my time would be 3:00, but yeah, there's supposed to be a state of play, which they're going to talk. It's like 30 minutes. It's going to be short, but they're going to talk about some upcoming stuff. That Kenna Bridge of Spirits, I think, is coming out soon. So there'll probably be a trailer for that. Returnal comes out soon for PS5, and I think there'll be obviously some stuff about that as well. But
awesome.
Kenna Bridge of Spirits is like that Pixar game. It looks like a Pixar movie. Where it's like the little girl. She has and then Returnal is that space shooter.
Yes, that one gets me excited.
So that one's supposed to be coming out soon. And other than that, that's any of the news stuff. I know
any
that
more news on getting more stock in for PlayStation 5. I know it's been an issue.
It's going to be hit or miss.
It's
going to be hit or miss this year for that. I think it's going to be, if you can get it, if you can find it, take advantage. If you can't, I think even PlayStation said that this year is going to be real tricky. That's why I think we're not going to see a lot of exclusive games for PlayStation 5. I think you're going to get some, obviously. Ratchet and Clank's coming out in summer. That's obviously exclusive. It's not, that game can't be played on PS4. But yeah, I think what's going to happen is, because we're not seeing as many like PS5 exclusive, PS5 exclusive, I think we're going to see a lot of cross for a while, at least for the first year, because they can't get that many in the hands of people.
Yeah.
And some of that's due to COVID. Some of that's due to, obviously the developers too. You have to understand, because a lot of them are working from home during all the last year or so. So there's a lot of delays, a lot of game delays and stuff. So I think the thing is Sony's betting on the beginning of next year where they become readily available. It's very possible that they become readily available during the holiday. But right now, man, it is hit or miss. Yeah, you see tweets from GameStop and they're like, "Oh, we got some in," and I'm like, "They're probably gone now."
Yeah, they're probably gone before that tweet button, and I haven't saw one on any shelf, so it's gonna be a while before I'm able to get one. Anyways, I'm gonna get my computer, and there's stuff we got to buy for the house, and speaking of the house, they haven't laid the foundation yet. It's with the winter weather, and it's supposed to rain for the next 5 days. I don't know when our foundation is going to be poured, so it's setting that back, and COVID issues, and so I don't know when we'll be able to move, but it's coming, Jeff. It's coming. So
yeah, it's just outside of that, we've just been just watching TV, chilling out. Her and I've been playing some old games, some Sonic the Hedgehog on Genesis, Sonic 2. We also went to some retro stores this last weekend and got some old games like Ready to Rumble, And I don't know if anybody's ever played that before, but that was, I think, on the GameCube. I know it's on the PS2 because we got it for PS2.
Familiar.
Ready to Rumble. It was a arcade boxing game.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we got that, and we got I think an NHL game that she liked to play as a kid. And what else did she get? There was something else for PS2, and then she got some stuff for we got Street Fighter, and then on Sega, I don't know if anybody remember this or not, but we got Power Rangers.
Dude,
and there was this game.
Love that game.
There was this game that I rented from Blockbuster. That's how long ago that it was. And it was, and it, you know, Fridays were cool because it was like we're going to Blockbuster, and I'm like, yes,
dude,
I get a game, I get a movie. It's great, you know. And so I would always get like a fighting. If it was Sega, I would always get a fighting game, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and then I saw Power Rangers. And I'm like, what is this? And so I got it, and it was like this fighting game with Power Rangers, and you're fighting against all the villains as a story mode. It's awesome. So we got that, and I'm like, man, I couldn't ask. That's amazing.
That's awesome. That one and the Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah,
dude, that game.
Yeah,
that game is insane. I love that game. Both those games are great. You talk about going to Blockbuster. That's something my kids will never ever know about, right? Yeah. We used to go pick up a pizza, and we go to Blockbuster, pick out a movie, and man, it was the best. And I mean,
Friday nights, man. Friday nights.
They were great. All right, Jeff, it is time. The spotlight of the week, and we're going to give you a little review of Athlete A. It's out on Netflix. I recommend watching it. Now, Jeff, this is not one that I'm going to be. I'm not excited to talk about it. I'm really not. I've watched this movie twice, actually, because I watched it like 3 weeks ago. I have a whole list of notes, and I said I really kind of need to glance over it again. And when I first watched it, Jeff, I was angry. I almost, and I might get emotional breaking it down, Jeff. This is a sore subject for a lot of people. And I was literally holding back tears. And it is, so Athlete A, I'm going to read you the description real quick. I kind of typed this out. And it says, this documentary focuses on the gymnastics who survived USA Gymnastics Dr. Larry Nassar's abuse and the reporters who exposed the gymnastics toxic culture. So that's the subject right before you push play on this. And it goes to talk about Larry Nassar and how he molested hundreds of gymnastic girls. And it's a hard watch, man. My wife watched it today, and so just so I could be more familiar with this, and it's a tough one, man. Gymnastics is my favorite Olympic sport to watch out of all of them. This last Olympics, the USA Gymnastics team was one of the best I've ever seen with Simone Biles. She's one of the best. They're talking about the best gymnast to ever live. That's how good she is. This team dominated. And we're not talking about this happening to a team that, that we don't know, right? This was 2016, and it happened out. It went longer than that, but so it's like I just watched these girls dominate and win for the Olympics, and how amazing it was. And then you hear these stories, and you watch this movie or this documentary, and it's great. It's shocking. So it starts off talking about what's her name? Is it Nichols?
She's gymnast for OU. She was on the USA team, but she was a gymnast for
Nichols.
OU. Yeah. You're right.
So Maggie Nichols starts off with her talking about just kind of everything that she put into being a gymnast, and how it just takes over your life, right? If you want to be good at something, good like that, where you make the Olympic team, where this is it. This is as high as you can go. You give everything. She talks about how she homeschooled so she could spend more time in the gym, and how it just absorbed her whole life, basically. So it kind of breaks into that, and it kind of shows you who Maggie Pierce is. And then it starts talking about it kind of goes into the news room that broke this story and kind of led all this out into the world. And they start talking about the abuse policy that the USA gymnastics team has. And that basically they don't go to the police. They hide. They basically hiding these stories. They have a policy that says if the claim of molestation doesn't come from the gymnast herself or her parents, they throw it away. They don't do anything about it. They write it down and they stick it in. Stephen Perry, who used to be at that time the president of the USA Gymnastics, they stick it in a locker in a folder, and they don't do anything. They bury it. It talks about how the USA Gymnastics has hired a coach that has had red flags for molesting kids before, abusing kids. Somebody quoted, and I quote, in the actual documentary, someone needs to lock this guy in a cage before he rapes somebody. And the USA Gymnastics have done nothing about it. They hired the guy and continue to let him abuse these kids. So then it goes into who Stephen Perry is. And he's the president of USA Gymnastics. Talks about him. He goes and talks about, no, he doesn't turn over anything to the authorities. That's just their policy. And they just don't care, Jeff. They just don't care. They have an image to withhold with the Olympics. And they talk about that later on in the documentary, about how the Olympics became so big and marketable that they had to, protect that image at all costs, no matter what. And it cost these women who were kids, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, to be abused, not only physically by Dr. Nasser, but mentally. They were screamed at. They were slapped. They were choked. They were whatever. Whatever it took to get gold medals for the Olympics, these coaches were allowed to do. And I know I've talked a lot, Jeff. If you want to throw some 2 cents in here, I got a lot more to go into. It's a very touchy subject. I have 4 girls, Jeff, and it gets me emotional just thinking about how these women have trained their whole life to get to a point where they're that good to make their dream come true. I want to represent my country in the Olympics. And then you get there and you're being abused and you're being molested, and you're a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid that they've ruined your dream. I mean, they've ruined your life just about. But I'm going to let you talk for a minute and kind of give you 2 cents. I could go on and on about it and how much it just infuriates me.
So, I watched this, I want to say about a couple of weeks ago. And before that, years ago, we watched a documentary, but it was, I don't think it had the Maggie, what was her name? From OU.
Maggie Nichols.
Maggie Nichols. Didn't talk to her. It was actually, they were talking to another girl. And one of the girls I remember seeing in the documentary, which is the one that was the main person who actually started this entire snowball process to get Nasser out. And I'm not going to refer to him as Dr. Nasser. He's not a doctor. Yeah. So he's just Nasser.
I said that earlier and I was like, oh, that didn't sound right.
He doesn't deserve the title. So, it's just kind of like, the thing is that the girl that initially started this whole process was when he was a doctor when he was the medical advisor or medical doctor, athletic doctor at Michigan. Is it Michigan State? Yeah. They're the ones with the Spartans.
Yeah. Michigan
State. Okay. So he was helping athletes there, gymnasts there, before he went to the facility, before he started working for the USA Gymnastics and then the facility in Texas. I can't remember exactly what the
camp in Texas that is now shut down.
Right. So, this started way before he entered in USA Gymnastics. And then whenever it started, it was ignored at Michigan. And then he went to USA Gymnastics. It started there. And the chain of command just started dropping the ball. Some of these were women, by the way, which is kind of insane.
Yes.
You would think, right? You'd go, okay, maybe this is just a bunch of rich dudes, right? That are like, this is going to ruin my pocket. Like, I don't want to do this. But then again, you look at the chain of command and all the parts, all the kinks in that chain. And little by little, you see all the people were behind that. And you're going, there's two ladies that were behind it. One of them was an athletic coach. One of them was like up there. We're talking
the coach,
right underneath. One of them was right underneath.
Oh yeah. She was she was in charge of women's the women's director at the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the coach was Maggie's actually professional coach. Because this camp that they go to, they're able to bring in their coaches that have coached them for years to get to this point. Because once you make it to this camp, they basically pick out of those select girls to go onto the Olympic team from the two main coaches that work for the USA Olympics.
Yeah, it is just, it's mind-boggling. It's this movie's very intense. It goes into in depth of like exactly. There are some videos that his informational quote, informational videos that are weird, just like really odd in how he's like approaching everything. And it's like, I don't know. It was that there was one in particular where he's like, putting a bandage by her. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty close there. Like, it's a little weird. Yeah. So, it's just, it's a very, I'm glad that this is now open to where people know about it. I'm glad that it's a topic that people are not afraid to talk about now. A lot of these girls, and here's the insane part, signed an NDA so they couldn't say a word for a while. Because either they had contract deals, they had endorsements, they had whatever. And it's just insane. And then some of the practices, and I'll get to the I forgot what that family's name is. The one that's was the coaches, the male and female coach, the older people.
Mm-hmm. They're
from Ukraine, like, maybe, or
Ukraine or Slovakia or something.
Yeah, something like that. So these, I forgot what are their names. Do you remember?
I'm trying to go through my notes here and see. I don't think I wrote them down because I was
The last names are kind of weird.
Klavoskia
like mine.
or something.
Yeah.
Some weird.
So these people, they were coaches for a very long time in gymnastics. I don't think they coach anymore, but they won a lot of championships.
No.
And obviously, and so they won a lot of championships. They were very successful. They were successful in their own country. They came to the U.S. and they turned around the Olympic team in the United States in terms of the gymnastics team and became household name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their practices were intense. They were brutal. I mean, there's a scene where this poor girl is injured. You can tell. And she went and did a run, and she did good, and she landed, and you could tell she was hurt. And then she went to go do the next run, and won might I add. But
So-
she won and landed on one leg,
That is,
and she
one of
never stopped
That's
walking
Carrie-
on the one leg.
Carrie Strong.
Yeah.
I believe that's her name. Now that, or Carrie Strug, that is a iconic moment for USA Gymnastics.
Yeah.
I remember watching that. She did that on a broken leg. She had a severe injury, and the coach goes over there and carries her off the stadium like he's some hero, and he's actually an abusive jackwagon. And we look at that. I look at that image when I was growing up, like, oh man, what, how inspirational. But then you watch this documentary and you're like, man, that's not good. And one of the girls, because they go through multiple girls in this, and Maggie Nichols is the one that kind of, she threw out the, hey, Larry Nassar is touching me inappropriately in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but then they talk about Rachel Dinhaler.
That's the one from Michigan. Was that Michigan?
And she was, no, that's not the one from Michigan. This is an actual gymnast as well. But she was talking about how like, why are we celebrating that? People think she had a choice to not run that second round. She had no choice. Wasn't given no options. It's, you're going to do this. I don't care if your leg's broken. So now I look at that iconic story, that iconic situation, and now the girl still did amazing. And kudos to her, but how it shines a different light on it. There was talks about the two coaches that they calling these girls fat cows, talking about their weight, talking about how the woman would slap them so hard with her rings that they would leave ring imprints on these girls' faces. Larry Nassar, Jeff, was the USA Gymnastics doctor for 29 years. 29 years.
And there were times where he wouldn't even actually like do it in an actual medical setting. It was like, come on to my house. I was like, what?
Yeah, he's
come on my basement. And I'm like, what? So man, first of all, I'm like, what parent is like, oh, you want to go to your doctor's house? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like, what?
So So Maggie Nichols starts talking about how the first incident happened with her, about how they go to this camp. It's the girls' camp, and the parents aren't allowed there. Not allowed there. You can't come here. Even though it's your child, you're not allowed here. Larry Nassar's there, of course, giving these girls treatment. Okay. She talks about how Larry Nassar starts fingering her while giving her a back massage and during treatment. Okay. How this, sick. So Maggie starts talking to other people like, what, does he do this to you? And they're like, yeah, he does this to me. And her coach overheard that ends up reporting it to Rhonda. Or actually, she calls Maggie's mom and tells Maggie's mom that she overheard a conversation that Maggie says that Larry Nasser is what I'm going to call him, was touching Maggie inappropriately in her privates, and she's like, we need to go to the authorities. And she said, I know, let me contact Rhonda. Rhonda Fain or Farn or whatever her last name is. She's the vice president of women's programs. She was the vice president of the women's program. So they contact her, and Steve Penny, the president, called Maggie's mom the next day, and he says this to her. So I hear you have a concern, Jeff.
Just a little bit.
I hear you have
just
a
little
concern. And the mom's like, are you concerned? What the hell? My daughter was molested by your doctor. Da, da, da. She's like, we got to go to the authorities. And he, of course, tells her, no. I will go to the authorities. Don't go to the authorities. Well, Jeff, it's 3 weeks later. Okay. And they have her mother talk to a investigator. I don't know about you, and I told my wife this earlier. If my daughter got molested by some doctor, okay, I'm raising hell. I'm going to that camp. I'm kicking down a door. I'm pulling her the hell out of there. I'm trying to find this guy and beat the living crap out of him. In all honesty. I don't know why the parents waited 2 or 3 weeks to talk to an investigator, and Steve Penny told them don't go to the authorities and don't talk about it because it's going to ruin the FBI investigation, and I'm like, you waited 2 or 3 weeks to talk to somebody with an investigator, but it goes longer on than that too, and I'm like, man, if that's my daughter. Now, I know there's a lot into it too. You got to also say, well, if I do all this stuff, my daughter is going to be off the Olympic team. Everything she's ever worked for her entire life is gone in a flash. Okay. So I get all that.
Yeah.
My emotions will probably take over. I don't know. It's a tough situation that I don't ever want to find myself into. Let's see. I talk about the Carrie Strong and all that stuff. I got 4 pages of notes, Jeff, watching this on 4 pages. All right.
I mean, ultimately, this is a story about these girls that have gone through this traumatic situation. They don't name every girl, but when you start actually watching them come up to the podium during a trial, it's one member of a gymnastics team after another. It's just they all come up there and they tell him what they felt, what it felt like, what he did to them, and some of them are like where they are now because they're a better person because of it. Larry, or what's his name? Penny. What was the other guy's name?
Stephen Penny.
Stephen Penny's got arrested. That's something I didn't even know about. The first documentary, I don't think that ever happened. They rarely talked about him too much. So this one actually talked about him a little bit more, and the fact that he did get arrested is awesome. It's just, it's a crazy story that was an example of an organization worried about their sponsors, worried about what the world thought, worried about money, worried about all of this. And I mean, ultimately, we've seen this before. This has happened time and time again in sports organizations,
especially
over
college.
and over and over. We saw it with Paterno, as crazy as it was. And I understand that when he was a coach, he may have been an awesome coach, but he messed up. and an organization just swept it under the rug because, well, you know what? We have sponsors that we need to worry about, and they're paying us. And what do we do? What's disposable? This kid telling a story, or a multi-million-dollar or a hundred thousands of dollar sponsorship deal that we signed with, Nike, Gatorade, or whatever, so that when we have our bowl game, right, we got logos and, advertisements with me in it and commercials and all this stuff, right? Imagine this hypothetically, right? Let's take a college coach, right? And let's say that there's a scandal about him. And let's say he just had a commercial, or he's the face of whatever, could be Allstate or whatever, right? And they signed a multi-million-dollar contract. The school's getting money, coach is getting money, everybody's happy, right? But deep down, let's say there's a story there where he did something to a kid or a girl or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to sweep it on the rug?
Mm-hmm. Happens all
right?
the time.
Imagine if this was a big school, Clemson,
LSU.
right? LSU, right?
They're in investigation right now
So
for that.
that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You can sweep it under the rug all you want until eventually it's going to cause more problems than not. I mean, you could even talk about, even the situations. I mean, Bobby Knight didn't last too long at Texas Tech. He was very, aggressive with kids. I think at one point he was physically aggressive towards a kid. And he's not coaching college basketball anymore. It's just, you see this where they sweep it under the rug. And I know I can guarantee you that was not the first time that, somebody saw, Bob Knight throwing a kid against the wall. It's happened before. It had to have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
There's actually a documentary on him too. That's it's a good watch.
Yeah. So it's just, we see this over and over again. It's disgusting. Stop being ridiculous. Stop being stupid and only caring about, oh no, my corporate partners and because ultimately, I'm telling you right now, if you don't report it, I'll tell you right now, here's an example. If Paterno reported it the second he knew what happened, he would have never been dragged in the mud like he was dragged in the mud. Mm-hmm. He would have been looked at as a hero. He would have been looked at even higher in regard than he was. Mm-hmm. If he had reported it the second he knew about it, no one would be talking bad about Joe Paterno, period.
Statue would still be up.
The statue would still be up. He'd still be coaching.
Well, he's dead now, Jeff.
But I mean, I'm just saying in general, he would still, in general, he would still been coached. He wouldn't have left the way he left. It wouldn't have been this big ordeal.
Yeah,
it was. I think that's what his wife said, is that he just lived to coach, and so it's just like whatever. But it's like, what's ultimately, it tells you a story. Money is one of the most important things in the world. The next thing that's more important is your name recognition, your brand, right? Your brand is important. If without that, a person is dispensable. A brand is forever. And once it's tarnished, it's very difficult to change the mindset that people have towards that brand. So what would they rather do? Sweep it under the rug. I don't want the brand tarnished for, a couple of people or whatever they think at the time is insignificant amount of people, even though this was an insignificant amount of people.
No.
It's just, I'm sorry,
those
but
numbers in a second here.
It's just, it's mind boggling to me, but we see it before. Any sports fans have seen this before. This is just another facet of this disgusting, cog in the machine that just has to stop.
Right. And that's one thing that goes into this documentary is they talk about how even the girls, how the coaches were mean. That a lot of the people around it they're mean. They're not very nice. Well, they talk about how Larry Nassar was the nicest guy they knew. He would sneak treats to the girls, and he'd sneak them cookies and chips and
groom them. That's what he's doing.
Well,
grooming them.
He was, they say he's the nicest guy there was. So you had the abusive coaches and would just call you a fat cow and slap you in the face. And then you had this other guy over here. Oh, this guy's nice. And then he's molesting them. So they start. So Maggie Nichols reported to Nassar she reported Nassar to the USA Gymnastics June 2015, Jeff. 15 months had elapsed before the Indianapolis Star first article on Nassar. Okay, that's how long it took. Over 500, Jeff, 500 survivors of Nassar has come forward, and 9 of them were on the USA Olympics, the USA Gymnastics. The USA Department of Justice is currently investigating the USA Gymnastics and the USA Olympic Committee and the FBI for their handling of the allegations of sexual abuse. All that was said at the end of the movie, that they're currently still under investigation. The FBI waited 6 months to do anything because eventually the president did send this information to the FBI on Nassar, and but the FBI took 6 months to do anything about it. That's 6 months that Larry Nassar gets to molest kids. And one thing they talk about is they were like, we're going to write this article about you and da-da-da-da. And his lawyer says, you're going to ruin his reputation. Oh my gosh, Jeff, I don't give two. I got some choice words I'm not going to say on this podcast about his reputation. Don't care. That's exactly what you're talking about. I don't care.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem with the story is everybody's worried about reputation.
Yeah. Larry Nassar actually retired from the USA Gymnastics, and he went on to try and run for the school board, Jeff. I'm like, are you kidding me? How is this guy running for school board? So eventually he gets caught, right? And the one thing that caught him was giving out those free doctor exams in the basement. And there's a lady that talks about how that is what gave them the right to do a home search. The police came, raided his house, and they said the trash is still full. So they what they call the trash dump, and they found 9 USB drives in there that had 37,000 pictures of child pornography. And that's how they were able to arrest Larry Nassar. He is serving 2 60-year sentences in prison, so he'll spend the rest of his life there.
And I think that's concurrently, so he's done for the rest of his life.
I mean, I'm hoping someone murders him in prison.
They probably will.
They don't take kind to child molesters.
No.
And Steve, what's his name? Penny is he retired too, but they were in front of a judge and he pleaded the fifth, and they're like, don't you think these girls that have come here tonight deserve something? And I plead the fifth, and he gets arrested because he was tampering with the evidence against Larry Nassar. So that's why he's in prison. So justice, I guess you could say, was served, but nothing's going to get back these girls, the trauma that they went through. And Simone Biles, the most popular gymnastics of the USA, came out and acknowledged that yeah, this is true. She didn't. She just, I think it was a post or something that she put out there. It wasn't. She's not. She's in this film just on like video of the team, but she's not. I think it'd have been huge if she was like the front runner leading this thing. I think it would have been
I think she came out maybe and said that not only is it true, but I think she said it happened to her too.
Oh yeah. But
also, it happened to a lot of famous ones as well as everybody that was talked about. I think one of the reasons why that they weren't allowed to say anything is because the idea of not being on the Olympics was probably thrown in their face. The girl that spoke out at one point was purposefully left off the Olympic team, even though she had the ability and skill to be on the Olympic team because she spoke out. Another one that I thought was interesting is because they had some of these girls signed an NDA, so they couldn't say a word for however long that was. And it's interesting because once Larry Nassar was arrested and trialed and convicted, then they started to say stuff. And I think that's because some of these, the paperwork or the contract that they signed to not say anything, maybe because there was a possibility that they would lose certain things, whether it be an endorsement deal that USA Gymnastics signed for them, or because they had power to take things from them, and I think maybe that's why you didn't hear from Simone and you didn't hear from some of these other girls initially.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were like, you know what, now's the time because this contract's over. Now it's void because these two guys are in jail. I can say whatever happened, and I'm not going to be worried that I'm going to lose an endorsement deal because I said something.
Right.
So
this documentary is called Athlete A because when Maggie Nichols started talking about this, she remained as an anonymous victim. The paper called her Athlete A because she was the first one that kind of got the ball rolling. And then it talks about, and not only that is the abuse, physical and mental abuse went on for years and years from the coaches. And so this documentary, it's a good, I wouldn't say it's a good watch, Jeff, because that's just kind of weird because it's something that's a very hard topic, but they do a good job of breaking down the facts and kind of the investigation part of it. I thought was really done well. I recommend it.
The interesting part is there was a girl who tried to report him from Michigan, and it was just ignored. That's Michigan State's problem. I think obviously she sued them at some point, but if they had known, if somebody if that information would have been given out to USA Gymnastics organization, would Nassar have even been hired? I don't know.
And I think
it's like that was thrown under the rug. She actually was an Olympic or an Olympics athlete, but I don't think at the time she was at Michigan State. I think he was the top doctor for gymnastics related injuries, and she went to him because he was a specialist.
His time with USA Gymnastics and the college, they lapped together. Like he was a doctor there, and he also worked because he worked for the gymnastics team for 29 years. And, so it's I actually a friend on Facebook wrote kind of put out her review on this, and that's kind of how I was like, oh, Athlete A, kind of I'll go watch it, and thank you for that. And so we're gonna do this once a month. We're gonna pick a documentary and talk about it the last week of every month, and it's gonna give me and Jeff both time to watch it and gain our thoughts on it. And so hopefully you liked it. If you're interested in the gymnastics teams, go watch it. I don't know if I'll be able to watch the gymnastics this year, Jeff, or the next, because it's hard trying trusting them now, and I don't know, it's a tough situation. But like I said, it was my favorite. part of the Olympics is the girls. This girls team was freaking amazing and dominant. They dominated everything the last Olympics that we had. So, but
my fate. I mean, I didn't know a whole lot about the gymnastics stuff. I mean, I knew some of the people because some of them are real, just popular. And they're on like Wheaties boxes and commercials and advertisements and everything else, like Simone. And there was another one, I think that I think she went and saw Obama. I remember her name though. She had that meme where she like had that facial expression, where it was like this or whatever.
I don't know all their names,
but she was she was part of that whole process too. Yeah. And I think she's also came out and said that happened to her also. But outside of that, like I didn't know a whole lot about. I don't pay attention to the Summer Olympics as much as I pay attention to the Winter Olympics, because I like. Still to this day, I don't know why, but man, I love bobsleds. I think they're amazing. Maybe it's the movie. But yeah, like so yeah, I didn't really know a whole lot about it outside. I mean, in terms of Summer Olympics, the only thing I ever really know about is I know they have basketball and stuff, and then they had gymnastics, but I never paid attention. So this was kind of interesting because it was something that I probably would have never paid attention to too much because I didn't have any knowledge about any of it. Right.
And it's, like I said, it's my favorite thing to watch in the Olympics. So the talent that, all parts of gymnastics.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing, insane, the stuff that they do. So this is an interesting watch, difficult watch, especially if you have morals and you have a heart. Difficult watch, but like I said, if you want to go check it out, it's on Netflix, called Athlete A. And that concludes episode number 40. This is quite a long episode here, Jeff, but that's okay.
We'll probably the next episode we'll probably want to, or next month we might watch the Tiger Woods documentary and talk about that. So that might be pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, especially since he's back, he's in the news, not for good reasons, but it talks about his whole life, basically,
right.
And come back and everything. So we might watch that one. I'm not sure what platform that's on,
HBO.
Is it? Okay, cool. Then we'll have to watch that one. That might be that. Let's go ahead and mark it down. That will be next month's documentary. So, and they won't always be sports, I don't think. I think we might find someone that we can watch that aren't sports, but they a lot of them probably will be sports because this is a sports broadcast. So with some other things thrown in there, but that's about it. I got a tough week ahead of me at work and just catching up on that, and that's about it for me. But Jeff,
comment, like, subscribe.
Yes, comment, like, subscribe. We had some technical difficulties last week. Hopefully that doesn't happen. It won't happen again. Hopefully. So we'll be back up on YouTube and the Buzzsprout, and you can find us on iHeart and Facebook and all the major platforms you can find Watson's Playbook on. And I just want to thank those that do listen. I got this new hat for my birthday. I think it's awesome.
Nice.
I think it's sick. So throwing that out there, just random. But I just want to say thanks, Jeff, for jumping on, and
no
hope
problem.
you have a good week, brother.
Yeah, I hope everybody has a good week, staying safe, and this podcast is not sponsored by the Green Bay Packers, as much as Brian wants to plug in his hat and his new era. Is it New Era? Who makes those now? New Era. Oh, okay. All right. Well, stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, stay safe. Keep warm. All that's Jeff. So,
bye.
Bye.